Well, good afternoon on the Empty Skull Ranch. Today, I was delving a little bit into the LULL. So, let's take a look at what we did here. It still sits here as a lawn monstrosity, and I have to get it out of here, especially because it's doing a lot of damage having it sit here with that mystery leak going all over the grass there. I gotta get it moved. So, let's take a look at what my last course of action was. So as you can see, there is a bird nest of wires here, and whoa, that's something different. And look at that shiny thing right underneath there. So basically what I did was I put in this electronic ignition module. Everything I read says this does nothing. So there it sits. So ground it out right here. I got to put another one right here, but I have this five-way harness right here that I ran down and out and through. So these guys right here, this shoulder, this leg goes from this module all the way down there to the negative side of your coil. And then I ran the top red wire, which it always says it's a blue or yellow wire. Mine's red. They're all red. But ran that all the way here. As you can see, it goes through that loom. And it goes all the way up to the ballast resistor right up here. And then that in turn has a jumper that goes down to the positive side of the coil. So basically, so far, that's what I did with it. And then this guy right here has a pigtail coming out from inside of it. But of course, true to Empty Skull Ranch fashion, I don't have the right connector. So I just mangled some blade connectors to fit that snugly. One inside, one out of it. And those go to this side. All right, focus. I know, let's work through this. All right, that goes to this gray guy and this brown guy, and they both run over there. I just kind of tucked it out of the way, so that ties in your distributor. It's got a magnetic pickup inside of there with a kind of a spur that goes around, spur type of instead of your points and condensers inside of there. So it's a primitive Mopar electronic ignition. My issue with this guy was I was getting spark, but it was a really, really anemic spark, a very weak spark. So let's see if the addition of this electronic ignition system right here is enough to get this guy to at least bark off a little bit. That's all I need, is just a little bit of a row. That was not a happy dog. That was not even a scary dog. Anyway, we need it to bark off nonetheless. So I gotta go get some gas. And then in the meantime, I got your vacuum advance right there going to that. Looks so new. Also inside of there, it has your typical Chrysler style swivel plate on the bottom. I just set the rotor, was pointing off in the distance to cylinder number 1 right here. So basically emulated the same position it was in when I took the old distributor out of there. I also put the old cap back onto it because I used the old rotor and put that back into it. Nice thing with these Chrysler ignitions is uses the same stuff that you would have on your points and condensers. So it's basically the interchangeability is a nice thing. I do have the new cap, but I don't want to put the new cap in there with an old rotor. So if this thing works, if this experiment works, then I will tidy this up a little bit and make it a little bit neater down here. This is just to make the connections met and then to see if this thing does anything at all. So let's get some gas and give it a fire, shall we? Give it a crank. Yes. Well, here we go on the way down to getting gas. I think I'm about, I would say maybe about 50-50 on this thing starting. Maybe 40-60, 40% being that it'll fire off, but let's see how it goes anyhow. Like I've stated before, definitely not an expert. I just self-taught. Basically whatever works is what I've done. So just a little bit of research and a little bit of wiring. I used to read those Chilton's books and the Haynes books all the time back before we had YouTube. And then when YouTube came along, I tell you, there's a lot of stuff you can find out on there. So let's give this a shot. There's really not a whole hell of a lot on this electronic ignition stuff anyway for this application, whereas it's so primitive. You know, if you want to put it in a truck or a car or something like that with your different ignition feeds and all that, this thing doesn't have a whole hell of a lot. So hopefully this wiring goes. Gas store sells soup. Love soup. All right. Well, we got jumper cables. Check. We got fuel jug. Check. We got dead battery sitting uselessly on the auxiliary gas tank. Check. We got true fuel to lubricate this top end. So let's try to get it in there. Yes. That is way too much. Let's see how that goes. All right. Please give it a couple little primes. We gotta let it cook a little bit. Come on, old girl. Ooh. She wants it. More promise than I've had before. Well, it's 50-50 now. Well, it barked off. That's what I wanted. Well, let's see if we can tinker with this a little bit more and see if there's any promise heading our way. But that's more than I thought was going to happen. So let's see what we got. A little bit more true fuel in there. Well, there's signs of life. Well, there it goes. Balance resistance balancing. Coil is coiling. And the distributor is distributing. Well, I'll be, yep. She's back in the land of the living. That electronic ignition is working pretty slick too, I might add. So anyway, let's call this a win. Let's call it a win for now. We can shut this guy off. There we go. Gotta do an oil change on it. But timing was a little bit advanced on it, so it was giving us that old high idle. I think with the use of such a primitive tool known as a timing light, I was able to get it about here, which is as good as it's getting. It's about as good as it's getting, but that electronic ignition, oh yeah, it's running pretty strong. So let's see what we can do with this guy going forward. To keep or to sell? That is the question. So I'll see you guys the next time on the Empty Skull Ranch. All right.